of sporting such a big chunk of bling on my finger every day seemed a bit much. 1 month into Jerry's grand experiment, the ring's centerpiece rock fell out while I was dining at Bennigan's in Chicago, and it was never recovered. After that, I went back to wearing the rings only during the playoffs and on special occasions, like this triumphant gathering at the Coliseum. On a psychological level, the ring symbolizes something profound. The quest of the self to find harmony, connection, and wholeness. In Native American culture, for instance, the unifying power of the circle was so meaningful that whole nations were conceived as a series of interconnected rings, or hoops. The teepee was a ring, as were the campfire, the village, and the layout of the nation itself, circles within circles, having no beginning or end. Most of the players weren't that familiar with Native American psychology, but they understood intuitively the deeper meaning of the ring. Early in the season, the players had created a chant they would shout before each game, their hands joined together in a circle. 1, 2, 3, ring! After the players had taken their places on the stage, the Lakers' portable basketball court from the Staples Center, I stood and addressed the crowd. What was our motto on this team? The ring, I said, flashing my ring from the last championship we won in 2002. The ring. That was the motto. It's not just the band of gold, it's the circle that's made a bond between all these players, a great love for one another. Circle of love. That's not the way most basketball fans think of their sport. But after more than 40 years involved in the game at the highest level, both as a player and as a coach, I can't think of a truer phrase to describe the mysterious alchemy that joins players together and unites them in pursuit of the impossible. Obviously, we're not talking romantic love here, or even brotherly love in the traditional Christian sense. The best analogy I can think of is the intense emotional connection that great warriors experience in the heat of battle. Several years ago, journalist Sebastian Junger embedded himself with a platoon of American soldiers stationed in one of the most dangerous parts of Afghanistan to learn what enabled these incredibly brave young men to fight in such horrifying conditions. What he discovered, as chronicled in his book War, was that the courage needed to engage in battle was indistinguishable from love. Because of the strong brotherhood the soldiers had formed, they were more concerned about what happened to their buddies than about what happened to themselves. Junger recalls one soldier telling him that he would throw himself on a grenade for any one of his platoon mates, even those he didn't like all that much. When Junger asked why, the soldier replied, "Because I actually love my brothers. I mean, it's a brotherhood. Being able to save their life so they can live, I think, is rewarding. Any of them would do it for me." That kind of bond, which is virtually impossible to replicate in civilian life, is critical to success, says Junger, because without it, nothing else is possible. I don't want to take the analogy too far. Basketball players don't risk their lives every day like soldiers in Afghanistan, but in many ways, the same principle applies. It takes a number of critical factors to win an NBA championship, including the right mix of talent, creativity, intelligence, toughness, and of course, luck. But if a team doesn't have the most essential ingredient, love, none of those other factors matter. Building that kind of consciousness doesn't happen overnight. It takes years of nurturing to get young athletes to step outside their egos and fully engage in a group experience. The NBA is not exactly the friendliest environment for teaching selflessness. Even though the game itself is a 5-person sport, the culture surrounding it celebrates egoistic behavior and stresses individual achievement over team bonding. This wasn't the case when I started playing for the Knicks in 1967. In those days, most players were paid modestly and had to take part-time jobs in the summer to make ends meet. The games were rarely televised, and none of us had ever heard of a highlight reel, let alone Twitter. That shifted in the 1980s. Fueled in large part by the popularity of the Magic Johnson-Larry Bird rivalry and the emergence of Michael Jordan as a global phenomenon. Today, the game has grown into a multi-billion-dollar industry, with fans all over the world and a sophisticated media machine that broadcasts everything that happens on and off the court 24/7.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.